So welcome to the parent orientation for Arabic through the story of Sinbad the Sailor, in partnership with Kallison Elementary and NISD Community Education. We're really excited about this course. This meeting is being recorded. So today we're going to talk about a welcome and introductions. We'll talk about the Culturangua curriculum methodology and how we track our students' proficiency along the proficiency journey, what to expect in this course, what's next for my child, and Q&A. But of course, you guys are welcome to ask questions at any time. So Culturangua is a 501c3 nonprofit organization based here in San Antonio. We focus on teaching Spanish, French, and Arabic language and culture to children aged 4 to 14, and we also have some limited adult programming as well, which we'll talk about later. Our vision, we envision a San Antonio where all children are multilingual and culturally intelligent in order to become better global citizens and prepare them for the economy and the world. And our mission is to enable children in San Antonio across all socioeconomic backgrounds to be global citizens through teaching world languages and cultures. So a little bit about me. I am the co-founder and executive director and also a French teacher. My background is in business strategy and finance with a minor in French from the University of Texas. I spent 9 years in business strategy consulting in the oil and gas industry before forming Culturangua a little over a year ago. Nader and I, who Nader will introduce himself in a minute, but we are married and we have 2 young children, and they go to Northside schools as well, and we felt like there was a lack of opportunities for children in San Antonio to learn languages at a young age, and so we wanted to change that for our children and for all children in San Antonio. So Nader, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Nader Mehdoui. I'm the co-founder as well of Culturangua. And the Arabic teacher. My background is in engineering. I'm a professional civil engineer in San Antonio. My master's in engineering from the University of Central Florida, UCF. I have taught Arabic in different occasions with Culturangua and in my professional life as well. And I'll be teaching this course.
Thanks. Okay, and then a little bit about our leadership team. They're not on the call, but Cindy Dorsey is our curriculum director as well as one of our Arabic teachers as well. She has a master's in applied linguistics with a focus on teaching languages to young children. She has taught for over 24 years. Among her experiences, she led the English department at a school in the United Arab Emirates, teaching English to native Arabic speakers. She also was previously a ESL teacher in Northside at one of the elementary schools. And then Miriam Hernandez is our Spanish director. She has over 24 years of experience teaching high school Spanish at all levels up to advanced placement, as well as 14 years teaching advanced placement Spanish, 14 years as a world languages department head. So both Cindy and Miriam have a big hand. Well, Cindy has a big hand in our curriculum, and both Cindy and Miriam have a big hand in the training of our teachers and in formative evaluations and enabling them to be effective teachers or to continue to grow and teach children across San Antonio. So we would love to hear a little bit about you guys, and including why you want your children or child to study a foreign language, and if you speak any other languages besides English at home, and anything else you'd like to add.
Maybe you should direct.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and?
Yeah, you're actually the only one on the call.
Okay. Okay. let's see. Oh, my name is Robin Varghese, and my daughter is Lillian. We call her Lily. She's in 3rd grade. And let's see, why would we like? She's interested in drama, and I think she just wanted to try it, and we thought that this would be like a neat kind of first experience for her. My husband actually was born and raised in Dubai, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, so he learned Arabic as a child, and I actually thought, like, we thought that would be sort of fun for them to kind of share that a little bit. We are, though, so other languages we speak at home, we are Indian, though, and we speak a little bit here and there, like our family's Indian dialect, but not that much, but it's called Malayalam.
Which part of India is that from?
South India.
South India? Okay.
From Kerala. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's all. I'm just excited for her to have this experience, and I don't know, that's all.
Cool. Well, that's really awesome. I went to Cochin once about, I don't know, 8 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So lovely. Yeah, it was such an awesome experience. So, and that's really cool that you guys have like a lot of variety of linguistic and cultural backgrounds within your family. So, cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about how we teach. So we follow the proficiency-based approach to learning languages. So in the past, at least for myself, studying foreign languages in Dallas when I was in high school, and many other people who grew up here studied foreign languages in the traditional way, and even still across the country, that's a lot of places are still teaching in the traditional way. However, there's a shift which is promoted by the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, which is the national standards that we follow, and that is towards a proficiency-based approach. So this chart lists some of the differences. I won't read them, but essentially the traditional approach, there's a lot of teaching about the language, teaching grammar. It's a very teacher-centered class, coverage of a textbook from front to back, isolated cultural factoids, whereas the proficiency-based approach is really focusing on students learning to use the language, speaking a majority of the time in the target language in class, having a learner-centered approach with the teacher as a facilitator, and from a cultural perspective, a much more emphasis on cultural behaviors and cultural practices and ways to interact with people rather than just isolated factoids. So that's the model. The proficiency-based approach is what we follow within Culturangua. We follow the gradual release of responsibility instructional framework, which is for each of our lessons. So this is a research-based approach which shows how a lesson would go from teacher-centered or teacher's responsibility to more student responsibility. And so the way that we implement that is that we start our lessons after our welcome song. We start with comprehensible input. So this is the teacher teaching thematic vocabulary related to the lesson. We use a lot of gestures, which is called total physical response. I'll talk about that in a second, to help them remember the vocabulary. We then move into low stress output, which are opportunities for the children as a group to show that they can either receptively understand or express as a group the vocabulary. So that might be through songs or through group games. For example, we do a Four Corners game where all the different pictures of different vocabulary are on the four corners, and then the teacher will say a word in the target language, and the students have to go to the corner where it's shown, and if they don't know the word but the other kids do, then they can follow, and it's a low stress way to become accustomed to and pick up the vocabulary. And then for structured interaction, that's the next phase where we still are in a group setting, but students have the opportunity to more individually show that they can either receptively understand or express the words. So that might be through games, such as having a pocket chart with lots of different pictures of vocabulary words, for example, and then they hide behind it like a picture of a kufaya, which is like an Arab scarf, and then they have to find where's the kufaya hidden, or in our Spanish lessons, where's the sombrero hidden, and so then they have to guess, oh, is it behind the, you know, if they're learning body parts, is it behind the head, is it behind the arm, is it behind the leg, etc. So that's where they show, it's still in group form, but they can individually express themselves and show their knowledge of the vocabulary. And then in the extension activities we do, and also I'd say in the structured interaction, this is also where we, you know, like, or sort of both structured interaction and in extension activities, this is where, you know, there's vocabulary that this for the theater-based classes, they've been learning vocabulary throughout the lesson, and then it sort of comes together in a story, which is every lesson is a different scene from the story. So that's where if they might act out, you know, they might watch the teacher act out the scene, and then they will act out a scene, and it uses the vocabulary that they've been learning, but now they put it into context with the characters that they're following throughout their course. And then extension activities, we might do things like an interpretive reading, have students pair up and they might do an interpretive reading of an authentic infographic where they try to interpret the meaning based on the words they've learned and pictures and cognates, in the case of Spanish and French, where the Latin letters are used, or some sort of writing activity, or maybe writing a postcard or things like that. And so this is the cycle that we follow for each of our lessons to promote authentic foreign language development. So feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions. As I mentioned, we do a lot of gesturing in class, and so this is based on a principle called total physical response, which says that by pairing gross motor movement with new vocabulary words, students are better able to remember and recall those words. And so this is an example of some of the classroom commands that we might use, but we also use it for our thematic vocabulary. As I mentioned, we follow the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages guidelines. So this is the all of their levels that they follow. So they have from novice, intermediate, advanced, superior, and distinguished. And then within each of those, novice mid, novice high, for example. And so it's the standards that I'll talk about, I think, in the next slide, that follow this proficiency journey are the standards that we use. And they recommend that at least 90% of the instructional time is in the target language by the time the students reach the novice mid level. So students in this class are not expected to be, are expected to be complete beginners. So the instruction is not 90% of the time, but we try to get as close as possible, like 60 or 70% of the time when they're beginners. And then working up towards this recommendation for 90% of instructional time. And I will say that that is not 90% of time. 90% is if the students actually are understanding what's being said. So it's not just the teacher talking 90% of the time in the target language and the students don't understand, but it's actually using the language in a comprehensible way 90% of the time. So I'm not going to go through all of this slide, but this is basically one snippet of the ACTFL's can-do statements, which is the standards that I mentioned. So they have 3 different modes of communication: interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational, and 2 modes of intercultural communication: investigate and interact, that they which is how they structure their standards and how we structure both our courses overall as well as our specific lessons. And then a little bit about, we have what we call a can-do progress system. So this is modeled after a program that's implemented in a number of states, including California, called the Seal of Biliteracy. Unfortunately, Texas Education Agency has not implemented this in Texas, but we wanted to have something that enabled the students and the parents to understand where they were along the proficiency journey and how much progress they were making. And, because some people might think, oh, after one class, they're going to be fluent. And then other people will think, well, after one class, or, after 10 classes, they're still probably not going to know anything. So, and it's obviously somewhere in between. So this is a systematic way to enable students to track that progress and to also get excited about it. And so the way that it works is that for every class hour, by the end of the class, for every class hour, they will earn one sticker, and then they put that into a badge booklet that they have, or a sticker booklet that they have. And then once they reach the number of stickers, and it's according to different areas, so interpretive listening, interpretive reading, interpersonal listening and speaking, etc. And once they reach the required number of stickers for that particular badge booklet, which equates to the number of hours that ACTFL recommends are required to reach a certain proficiency level, they have the option to take an assessment through us, and then they can earn a medal that would say that they are a novice low communicator. And then also, our goal is that by the time students finish middle school, which is the span of our program, that they would have the opportunity, if they've taken enough classes and focused enough on their language, that they could earn a Global Seal of Biliteracy award in functional fluency, which is at the intermediate mid level. And this is something that they can, I believe it can help them. They can actually earn college credit through a university, I believe, in New Hampshire. And it certainly will carry with them and an encouragement to continue. There's actually another level, which is called the Working Fluency Global Seal of Biliteracy, which is, I think, the advanced low. So again, this is just a way to encourage and support students along that proficiency journey. And then we also have the same model, but for the intercultural communication. So instead of taking an assessment, they would do an intercultural challenge, which varies by level, but it might be, in this case for Spanish, read 10 books in Spanish or attend a Hispanic cultural event, and then they can earn their intercultural communicator medal. Okay, so I'll hand it to Nader now to talk a little bit about the course.
So in this course, we'll have 8 classes, and the course, as you know, is the Arabic through the story of the Sinbad the Sailor, or Sindibad, as we say it in Arabic. So the lesson number 1 will be talking about, the synopsis of lesson number 1 will be introducing words that goes along, like Sindibad lives in Baghdad, he wants to travel, sets off on a journey or a voyage with his friend, and go on a ship. And guiding question for that class will be, how can I talk about going on an adventure? So we learn different vocabulary, saying, for example, ship, car, train, airplane, friend, and where do you live, things like this. And that's the first lesson, or first class. Second class will be basically the ship will dock on an island, and then they'll realize that it's not an island, it's a whale, and then they will Sinbad will be separated from his friend, and we will learn about the guiding question for that lesson will be, how can I talk about trying to find the solution? Class number 3 is basically Sinbad will be washing into an island, meet a king and his guards, and the guiding question for that lesson would be how I meet new people and how I greet new people, and so on. I don't want to read everything in here, but basically, and at the end of the 8th lesson, we'll try to put a small play or a music for the parent, and so. Oh, that's for me too. So for the class logistics, the class dates and time basically is going to be every Monday, and we'll have 8 sessions, and the class will start September 16th and to November 11th. The time is from 3 to 4. Remember, there's no class on Monday, October 14th. It's a Columbus Day. The class will be in a portable classroom number 3. And the process would be basically your child's teacher will drop your child into the cafeteria. That's where I will be meeting them. The office has the roster of all the kids that has registered. We have about like 11 kids for this class so far. And just the students, maybe in case of the teachers forget, just tell your child to remind the students, remind the teacher that they have a class, so they will drop them in the cafeteria. That's where I meet them, and I'll take them to the classroom. And at the end, I'll drop the kids either to the learning tree, if that's where they go, or in the front office for parent to pick them up.
Front pickup.
Yeah, for that from pickup. Yeah.
Okay, and then you'll also get, in terms of how to support your child at home, you're going to receive a parent letter every day that explains the thematic vocabulary that now they're reviewed, as well as the functional vocabulary. So functional vocabulary is things that he won't actively teach as, this is how to say airplane, but that's thematic. But functional vocabulary are things that that they're learning in the course of the activities in the game. So it might be prepositions like in or out, or if it's like a colors lesson, it might be what color is blank, and that's something that's learned throughout the course of the lesson. That's more functional. The learning objectives, the cultural component, if there were any, because certain lessons will have cultural components and certain won't. But I mean, the whole story, of course, is a cultural story, and how you can reinforce at home, as well as a Quizlet URL. So we'll have online flashcards and games for the students to practice the vocabulary. And also,
mostly flashcards.
Flashcards, and then you will also receive an invite to join this course through the Remind app, where you can receive the Quizlet URL and also talk to Nader if you have questions or comments. And also he's available via email. I sent the email, I copied him on my email on yesterday. The other thing that I think we didn't mention is that Nader will be introducing 3 to 4 letters in each lesson. So much of the vocabulary will be transliterated using Latin letters, because the students most of them, or none of them perhaps, know the letters, the Arabic letters, but Nader will be introducing the letters throughout, and each lesson, one of the vocabulary words that is being learned will use those letters. So tomorrow's lesson is safara,
traveling.
Safar. So that's sin, fara.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 letters that they'll learn, and then they'll learn how to say traveling as well. But then the other vocabulary words would be transliterated, and maybe he'll also show the script just to get them familiar with how it looks, but he'll introduce those letters throughout the course. Okay, so what's next? So we encourage you to be an advocate for your child as they progress along the proficiency journey. And we also would love to have your child in another Culturingua class if you're really interested in Arabic. We have a one-day Arabic language and culture workshop coming up at Northeast Community Learning Center, which is by the airport, but it's open to all students, not just Northeast ISD students, on October 5th. So there's 2 different groups for 2 different ages. And then in the spring, we'll have French is the Story of Cinderella at Kallison, Cinderella and the Prince at Kallison in January through March, and then Spanish through the Story of the 3 Little Pigs in late March until the last week of school. We also would love to have families join us at our upcoming Culturingua Family Weekend. So we will be going to Hill Country, to a 300-acre ranch and conference center and camp in Hunt, Texas, which is about an hour and a half from here on the North Fork of the Guadalupe River. And so we'll be doing, in spring break, we'll be having a Spanish-themed weekend. In Columbus Day of 2020, we'll have a French-themed weekend where children and adults will learn language and culture individually and in settings that are age-appropriate, and then they'll come together for cultural activities and meals, and as well as fun on the river and hiking and things like that. So, and we have 10% off for early birds that run, they end about 3 months before the camp starts. So we'd love to have you join us. And
that's it.
Yep, that's it. So do you guys have any questions or comments?
I don't think I have any questions. I'm just taking it all in. So, you know, maybe after the first couple classes, and you know, I'll have questions. But I think I'm good. This was a lot of information. So, yeah, I guess so. The ultimate goal is that they will be able to, the students, right, on November 11th, should be able to do the whole story like in Arabic, like act it out and say it. Is that right? Like that's
So,
the goal.
yeah. So that's our goal. However, we have 11 students, so I'm not sure how, because we have a limited roles in the story. So I'm either gonna do the play, do it twice,
With like half the kids.
Yeah, half the kids, or we're gonna. But for sure, we'll be doing something. And the story, so they're not gonna doing a play for every thing that they learned in the class. So we'll take just lines from those and try to do it in a play. And we also have some songs that are beginning and end songs we usually do. We'll have them perform that as well. But yeah, that's the end goal, to have them like engaged and have some fun and learn some interact with each other.
And like we like to use theater as a means to teach language because it gives them an excuse to use the language, and it reduces the affective filter of them feeling nervous about speaking in another language, or just feeling embarrassed, and it also gets them more engaged in a theme that will carry through the entire course.
We want to encourage them to speak it even if they make a mistake, because the first time you speak a new language, you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You're not going to speak it. So we want them to speak it even with that. So we just give them the confidence and do it in front of people.
That makes sense. Well, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, we
Thank you.
look forward to seeing Lily, or Nathan looks forward to seeing Lily tomorrow.
Okay.
And hopefully, are you a parent pickup or are you learning?
Yes, we're parent pickup. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Well,
Thank you. Okay, have a good evening. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was good.